The Board of Education Committee of the whole meeting for Thursday, September 27th, 2018, and it is now 6 p.m. The Board of Education makes available at least one current copy of the Open Meetings Act, which is posted on the west wall of the meeting room and accessible to all members of the public. Starting off, can I have an approval or a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. We are approved. First off, curriculum review. Dr. Nielsen.
Hello, greetings. It is me tonight who will be giving the curriculum review. We are talking about, in front of you, you should have a document that talks about effective instruction in every classroom. We wanted to give you an update of what we were doing this year, and we currently receive Title II-A funds, and we receive around approximately $60,000 worth of Title II-A funds. Title II-A funds in previous years was used for class size reduction because we were able to use it to pay for a teacher's salary. However, the federal government kind of modified the guidelines and said you have to have 17 or fewer students in a classroom, K-1, in order to use it for that teacher. Well, our classroom sizes are not that small, which is an awesome thing. I mean, that's really what we want to have happen. We want our class sizes to be right around 20 to where, so we do have 140 students, is really our goal. So, we were no longer able to use it for class size reduction, so we have started using it for professional development. Those are your only two options for Title II-A funds. With Title II-A though, in order to use them, you have to have a systematic professional development. It cannot be a hodgepodge of things that we just throw together. It has to have a function, it has to have a focus. So what we looked at as we were meeting last year and talking, we talked about principal development. Because we know that principals are the cornerstone for the buildings. Principals are the individuals that drive the education that happens in their buildings. Teachers are the number one in that classroom, but the principals are the ones that are helping them improve, helping them get better. And so we want to make sure that our principals have what they need to have and make sure that they are prepared. So we were in contact with Marzano, their research company, and Phil Wark is our presenter that we have been in contact regularly with and are using his expertise. And the nice thing is this meshes right along with our high reliability schools, and we have given surveys with high reliability schools. We've done quite a bit of work with most of our schools in determining what a high reliability school is. But the next step is now kind of the whole idea of leading a high reliability school. So if we can become a high reliability school, this means that we are really focusing on what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and how it truly is making an impact. And so one of the things that we are doing is we are doing a book study throughout the course of this year with our administrators using this text and talking about it. But the other thing that we are doing is providing that expertise with Phil Wark. So he already has conducted a webinar with our administrative team where we all sat down and he brought up different ideas, asked us different questions about where we were, where we needed to go, and what was happening in the buildings. And so it was great just having those conversations and just kind of building that framework. Because then, you can see in October, on October 16th, he will actually be on site. He will be doing a Fast and Furious walkthrough with every single administrator, so spending probably 30 to 45 minutes going through classrooms and just seeing what's going on, just hearing what the principals have to say. He will come back November 14th and 15th and do more in-depth training with the principals. Based upon what he hears on the 16th, kind of giving that overview, he'll come back and provide that more in-depth one-on-one time with the principals and really talking about what is going on in their classrooms, what's going on in their buildings, what language are we speaking? I mean, are we truly talking about instruction and how we are helping kids improve all the time? So then he will come back March 11th, but we might put in a webinar during that point in time. We've kind of left that open to figure out what we need and to figure out what pieces. But March 11th, he will come back into the district and we will determine kind of where we need to go on that date. Because again, we might then have this continue to move into the following year where we do even more work with principals, or now we move on to the teachers in the classroom and working with them at a deeper level. So we're excited, but one of the other things, as you can see, is the other piece that we are looking at purchasing are swivel cameras. And the nice thing about that is that helps the teachers really reflect on their practice, because they wear a device and there's a camera set up. And the ones that we are ordering has 3 listening devices, so you can place those around the room, so you also get the student voice too. Because really, when you're looking at the learning process, we want to know what the students are doing. I love what the teachers are doing, but it's really more important about what the students are doing and how they're learning, what they're talking about, how they're talking about it, and how they're digesting all that information. So we will have those hopefully in November timeframe, and then place 2 of those in each building. We were able to get 12 of them, and they provided us a pretty nice discount, able to get 12 of them, so 2 for each building. And that will be right now kind of as teachers just trying it out. Nothing will be mandated, but we just want to put it out there so that teachers know that there is a way to reflect on your practice, and there is a way to constantly look back and say, okay, what can I do better? What are the students saying? You know, when maybe I'm over here with this group, what are these students doing? And so I'm really excited about what we have set up. You can see all of the costs. You can see that some of it will be taken out of the curriculum and instruction budget, and others of it will be taken out of the Title IIA funds.
So what was the cost for the year total?
Cost for the year is right around $50,000. So we still have there will still be some money left in that Title IIA funds that we will have to look at, but that could also cover another webinar. If we need to have another webinar or another day that Phil Ward comes in to visit us. Yes. So what happened though is, this is then, as we're looking at budget-wise, this is then taking money away from curriculum and instruction budget, and curriculum and instruction budget has been moved kind of over to that Title IIA funds. So the professional development that I offer is very focused on what is happening with principals and what's happening in our buildings with the leadership.
Had you used any of the funds for sending teachers to conferences or anything like that? in the past
Not
year?
Title IIA funds. Title IIA funds was solely to pay that salary.
Was there another fund that
Yes.
was? Oh,
Yep, there's Title I accountability funds that we did use to send teachers to conferences, and those were based upon schools that were in needs improvement when we had AYP and No Child Left Behind.
okay.
And those were the designated schools that we had to, so yeah.
Okay. What about at the beginning of the year for that first Teacher's Day? Where did the funds come from that you?
Out
that
of
was-
this.
Okay.
Yep, we tied it all together.
Okay.
Yes. That was our introduction.
Oh, keynote speaker, there. I
Yep.
was looking for it and I couldn't. Okay.
It is, yes, and then if you look at, after the table, there is kind of a deeper dive into the days and what they are going to be made of. So, this has been shared with principals, they know what's going on, and they were very receptive of this, they were very excited to participate in the training and, to keep improving their craft. So I'm really excited about what we're doing, and, excited about where it's going to take us.
Have you had any feedback yet from any of the teachers?
No, we are just in the planning stages, so yes, now.
The
With the
principals?
August 8th or with the August 9th presenter, yes, I had quite a bit of feedback. But we haven't had much feedback on the other stuff because we are just starting, just planning stages. So it'll be interesting to see how this year evolves. And we have our advanced ed visit 2. So that will be a huge piece. Our accreditation visit will be in February, the 20th and 21st. So yeah, mark that on your calendars because you will be a part of it.
Can you tell me again how much was in the Title IIA funds?
It's approximately 60,000. I don't have that designation yet, but we were able to write the proposal first, because this is a brand new idea, brand new concept that we are doing in our district, we were able to write it in the summer and get it approved and start using the funds even though we don't have them yet.
And part of it's because they're federal funds.
Yes.
Title II-A is, and it comes to us through the new ESSA. Every Student Succeeds Act on the federal level. And so, they told us what we could use it for, but didn't tell us how much we were getting. So, I mean, they gave you an estimate that it's gonna be so much, between so much and so much, and so that's why Dr. Nielsen can budget for it that way.
So if we go over, we may be picking up some of the, or over what they decide to give us.
Yeah, curriculum instructional.
We'll go catch that.
Very good. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Jackie on that? All right, done with that section. All right, we'll move on to the bus grant. Mr. Alexander.
All right, well, thank you all for coming tonight. I know it's a busy time of year and appreciate your time. A little bit of information in where we're at in the bus grant. As you know, we were awarded the $42,000 bus grant through the NDEQ process, and we basically have been working on getting specifications put together that we can send out RFPs for, and Terry's been helping with that, and I appreciate Terry's help to try and figure out what it is and we have right now and what we want to replace it with. So we've kind of got all that put together. We sent out RFPs the other day, and we have gotten one back, and we just, fresh off the email, got another one back this afternoon. So we're putting all that together in a spreadsheet that we'll be able to bring to you, explaining what the different options are. It all comes down to that. Whenever you go car shopping, it's just like when you do go car shopping. You know, you can go onto the lot, you can pick out what you want, but you may want to look at what these options are going to cost you, what these options are going to cost you. And so we tried to break that down for you and make it all digestible on a spreadsheet. Just the first proposal that we got back in was from a company, and we had them quote us a 71 passenger bus and a 42 passenger bus, and then by year broke that out, and then whether it was front engine or rear engine, because that makes a difference in what the total overall cost is, and then what the engine actually is, whether it's 6.7 liter or 9.0 liter. That makes a difference. And then we talked about the internal environment, whether we wanted it to be school bus style, or the old bench seats, or whether we wanted it to be activity style with the new seats. I can about tell you what the kids would go for. So we put that all together, and then the activity utility. In other words, with these options, what does that mean? And with these options, what does that mean? And then on the far end of the right of the spreadsheet, we'll put what the costs are for those things, and we'll go from there. So we know we've got $42,000 towards that. Specs have been conformed and submitted. We have one response, actually two now. We just got in late this afternoon, and we're getting quotes on a wrap painting to outfit a bus in Raptors colors if we would decide to go that way. So if we put in the sport seats, and we wouldn't necessarily have to put in the sport seats or activity seats if we don't want to, that's what they call them. But just so you all get a visual of what I mean by that, this would be a picture of it, in that it comes white, and then we could either have it painted, or we could wrap it. We could just have Beatrice Orangeman down the side with the mask on it. This just gives us some flexibility in what we want to do on the outside of it. So we're also working on getting those things put together.
How many seats do you typically get in that size of bus?
This is a rear engine bus, and it has, on this quote, the rear engine has 42. The front engine comes with 71. So you can typically get more in a front engine bus than you can a rear engine bus.
Why?
Don't know. That might be an answer for that guy over there.
Well, it depends. We have a rear engine bus that has seating for 71 passengers.
Okay.
And we have a front engine bus that has seating for 71 passengers, but when you put in the bucket seats, then you classify that as 2 people per seat. Where right now, a 78 or 71 passenger bus is classified at 3 people
I
per
see.
seat.
Okay.
So you lose a lot when you do the bucket seats, but most of the time we don't run 3 people to a seat unless it's an elementary thing, and we're running a bunch of kids across town or something. You know, when we take the activities, it's usually no more than 2 per seat. That's where it is. The
Okay.
rear engine bus has a lot more storage underneath than a front engine bus, because the engine's in the back, you don't have the drivetrain.
Okay.
But we do have one of each right now.
Okay. Thanks, Terry.
My concern would be that it would just be big enough to get, like, for instance, the entire football team on there, so we're not taking 2 buses and paying twice the gas, you know, expense.
We're also going to go one step further, and tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll have a conversation with Coach Masters about a coach-style bus. Now, I did have email exchange today with one of the sales reps from these companies that says, you know, a lot of schools now are starting to go away from the Coach Master style buses because of the upkeep, the maintenance that's involved with that. And I can speak from personal experience and in my previous position that is true. Coach Master bus or coach style buses just have a lot more maintenance that are antiquated with keeping them running. So, you know, what we're gonna do is try and be as thorough as we can and bring those options to you so you can look at what you wanna do in making that decision and move forward. And then we can, you know, as I said before, talk to some people if we want to about this is what we have. Would anybody like to help us out so we can upgrade a little bit if we want to? And so we'll see where it all goes.
Do these come with seatbelts?
No. I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure you can special order seatbelts in buses if you want to, but it'll be interesting to see where that discussion goes in the future. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's brought up periodically about putting seatbelts in buses, and I always think how much that would cost to outfit all our buses with seatbelts, if that's a mandate that comes down.
yeah.
And would the federal government help with that mandate?
Oh.
In purchasing them? Not really.
Yeah, you and I both know the answer to that question, so.
Well, it's already white, so lots of room for sponsorship.
Yeah, that's
Your
what,
youth buses sitting out at the school right now, so you can go out there and look at how nicely it looks with their,
Does it have sponsors on it?
no, it just looks really good.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, it is.
Think of Pinnacle One, or Pinnacle Bank.
I think
With
South Sioux
the-
City has a
Air
really,
Force One.
South Sioux City has a really nice.
I don't know.
I think they have
It's
2
really
coach
decked out.
style,
do they?
like their old trailways, you know, type guys.
Yeah.
They're not too old, though.
Yeah, it would, I tell you what, for the amount of time that our kids, when you think about a student that's involved at school all day long and then goes and participates in an activity that's, I don't care if it's 50 miles away or 100 miles away, and they've been in chairs all day long, and then they crawl into a bus and they travel to whatever activity it is, whatever, it doesn't matter if we're talking about a sporting event or band event, you know, to have comfortable seats to ride in, and then when they get back on the bus and they're doing homework on the way home, which a lot of them are, or reading or studying. Of course, that's not all of them. Some of them are choosing to do other things, I'm sure, but
Sleep.
yeah, sleep, for once. It's a nice option to be able to look at, and our goal is to have it all put together, hopefully by the October meeting, but if not, we'll have an update for you at that meeting. We want to make sure we do this right. That's my concern, is to make sure we do it right and explore all our options. The time frame is that we have, it's best to order it before January 1st, so we meet the grant deadline. We have to have the bus in possession, or in order, and document delivery dates cleared to make sure that we meet the time frame of the grant. So I think we'll be done in plenty of time for that. So we'll keep you posted. Thank you, Terry, for the help on this.
All right, next up, we have a policy update. Is that
Two policies for you to consider this evening we want to update you on. One is specifically related to our safety and security policy. This would be a policy that has evolved out of recommendations from the NDE Safety and Security Standards and Council that the Department of Education has been implementing over the past couple of years. And we all know what day and age we live in, so this kind of reflects a lot of discussions that have come out of experiences and events that have happened in our world in the past several years. But this outlines best practice that we currently utilize on the basis of discussion in our threat assessment teams. A lot of people may not even know it, so I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but we do have a threat assessment team that meets regularly and very good discussion. And so this policy basically just reflects a lot of the things that threat assessment team is putting into place, and it works in synthesis with our crisis response management manual that explains to us how to handle, and we talk about how to handle those crisis response situations that might arise in the district. The crisis response, or excuse me, the threat assessment team has read this policy, principals have read this policy, they're all comfortable with where it's at, so now we bring it to you for consideration and approval over the next couple meetings to decide if you're comfortable with it, and you feel free to ask any questions. It outlines basically a lot of what we're doing right now, but puts it into policy. So if anything ever happens to any of us, then it's in place and the next administration knows how to deal with it. Or if we replace administration at schools for any reason, it's in place.
Anyone have any questions on that? Was there, on the memorial guidelines policy, was this just something you updated or?
Yeah,
Draft new policy.
yeah, the memorials guideline policy we'll jump right to that. This policy is reflective of common practices in the schools across the state, and crisis response, is it, what doctor?
The safety and security team,
Yeah, but which doctor is it that does, I just lost his name.
Dr. Belaw.
Yeah, and I don't mean here, I mean nationally. I want to call him Dr. Duffy, but that's not right. Dudley. Dr. Dudley that does national crisis response trainings everywhere and has been in on all the major crisis response events that have happened over the course of time in our world, from Columbine to Sandy Hook, to all of those things, and taken and gathered information and researched how people have responded with memorial attributes at different levels in different schools, and what the recommendations have been in regards to those memorials. So this policy is designed to give direction and guidance to the administrative staff, to the teaching staff, to the community on what is recommended on the basis of all that research that he has done in all of those events over the course of his career. And we have had staff members that have been to his trainings, and basically, he has a lot deeper knowledge than any of us do on how to handle these things. So we're basing this policy, we're recommending it to you as a reflection of all that insight that we have gathered from Dr. Dudley, and putting it into policy so everybody knows how we operate in the event that this would ever happen, and how memorials will be handled moving forward. So it's there for you to peruse and read. And again, it just gives our administrative team guidance on how to handle it.
Anybody comments on that?
The only thing I would add to it, sorry, I should have said this, is that there have been numerous discussions across the state and events that have also lent itself to how to handle these things. And as school administrators, we've paid close attention to those things. So, and learn from experiences of other communities of how they handle these types of things. So that also plays a factor into this policy.
Next up, we have the Master Facility Planning Committee. Both of you get to talk this time.
You go first?
Okay. We had a great start last year. had great meetings, great planning meetings where we laid out kind of what the scope is. What are some of the needs and what are some of the pieces that we need to consider in each building? I think this is a committee that we need to continue to look at. Now, let's get started. We've kind of gotten into a routine, and so I know that there were plenty of people that wanted to start June and July, but it's kind of like, hold on, let us get our feet under us so that we can get ready to go and move forward. So it has come back, and we need to move forward with this, and I think we need to figure out where we need to, who the committee is going to be. I know that Neil Trantham, Jeremy Tate, Brett Essink are three people that would be willing to probably spearhead this committee, because it would be great if we had community members spearheading it, and they were leading it, and they were leading the charge and then taking it forward. So we will work in getting in contact with them to start the phases, the next steps.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at, and I appreciate the time that you've allowed us to focus on the things that we wanted to make sure happened as we transition back to school, and that was that we got teachers in a good place, and we got students in a good place, and the opportunity to just get the educational piece of school in place. And I think that's happened. I think we feel comfortable about where we're at. So now a lot of our attention is probably going to be turned to this. And as I reflect back to last spring and think about those meetings and watching a couple of them via Facebook and then being here to participate in one of the things that I remember hearing and trying to break that down were the three important things to the community that were identified, and by all means they should have been. Safety being the first thing, and how do we provide the safest environment for our students, and then equity. How do we provide the most equitable situation for our students, and then finally efficiency. And I think those are probably three very important topics that we want to hear from the community on, and we want to be able to take the time to discuss that with people, especially with people who expressed an interest in discussing it with us, honor their input, and then begin the process of organizing what it is we actually see for facility committee work in that regard. So we'll be organizing that. We're getting invitations ready to go. We'll talk to those gentlemen that were at and ladies and gentlemen that were at the meetings last spring and get that kicked off. So we're just now getting to it and excited to get to it. I think this is going to be a fun process. And I'll be speaking with Pat Phelan here in the next couple of weeks to get him on board. We're going to organize some dates, and so we'll keep you abreast of those. That's where we are.
Hearing no comments. Upcoming committee of the whole meeting dates. Mr. Alexander?
Yeah, I'll just, I want to have a discussion with you about the next two upcoming committee of the whole meeting dates, just from the standpoint that in regards to the next two, they do conflict with some community things. And Thursday nights are, I'm just going to say it, are difficult because there's so many school activities, and we all have kids or connections that we want to be out watching. I just want to be out watching the kids because that's fun. But some of you have young kids in school or kids in school that are participating, but we do have a couple of conflicts. On October 25th, it is also the Night of the Great Pumpkin, and I think that's a terrific opportunity for us to be out in the community. From what I'm told, that's a pretty nice community event, and it's a nice draw. And so I guess I would like to be out seeing our kids and our families and visiting with them at that particular event. And then, if you have suggestions on how the board could be involved on the basis of strategic plan number 3, increasing our awareness, if you guys have suggestions on that, you can sure visit about it. But I think the first thing is to talk about the date and possibly moving that. Some dates we've talked about that aren't necessarily locked in stone, but if we do October 23rd, there is nothing scheduled on that night. There's nothing on the school calendar, so that's an option. And then Tuesday, October 16th, there are junior high activities. So You want to
Good for the 23rd.
I'm good for the 23rd.
I have a conflict, but I'll see if I can.
And I probably won't be there either.
Okay. Well, how about if we do this, if we just send some communication out your way and say, this is the date we've selected without work, and then we'll base it off that response. Does that work? Okay. And then November 22nd, and we decided that probably the only way we're gonna get everybody together at that point is if Steve volunteers to cook the turkey and bring the pumpkin pie. So we suggested maybe moving that one to a different date as well.
So I don't
That
have
sounds
to do
good.
this.
So you don't have to do that, yeah.
Bring stuffed mushrooms.
So again, what I would do is say, if it's all right with you first, if we move it, we'll honor the Wednesday nights. I understand that's important to everyone as well. But we will look for a couple dates on the calendar and communicate with you and say, will this work? So,
Like November 20th possibly?
I was gonna say, because you do have church on the Wednesday of that week too. But yeah, either, I'd probably favor Monday
Monday
over
the 19th.
Tuesday.
okay, so we'll send those 2 dates out and give you a chance to look at your calendars and kind of coordinate, and if those 2 don't work, then we're gonna plan 3.
Okay.
And
Okay.
no meeting in December, is that correct? Everybody in the whole December, correct? Okay.
And then after that, we'll have a chance, I think with new members, we'll have a chance to evaluate policy on committee of the whole meetings and see how we want to do that. I will be forthright with you from the standpoint that Thursday nights are just a great night. There's so many activities that it's a great night for us to get out and be involved in things too, so. If we can think about adjusting that a little bit or bringing some change to that, that would just be helpful to help towards that goal of us being able to do so. All right?
All right. Well, this is the proper time for public questions or comments on any topic.
I'm not gonna talk.
No, I'm done.
Our massive crowd
Thank you for
has decided not. So,
I have a few things I'll
Okay.
just touch on briefly. I need your signatures, so I'll start passing them around, but in the basis of things that have transpired and happened in the last couple of weeks, or since the last time we were together, I wanted to send some thank yous out and have your signatures on them and get them in the mail before it becomes a foregone conclusion, but Patricia Kaufman, who works for Toro. There's a program through Toro in which you can volunteer hours, and she's probably done this in the past, but she volunteered her hours in recognition of the Beatrice Educational Foundation, and so those hours equate to $300. So I thought that was very nice, just in honor of that, if you guys don't mind signing.
Yeah.
Nicole and Craig at Spark have been terrific to us as a school district in terms of working with us on all the Spark information that handle our meetings, and I'm actually going to a training with them on October 10th before the Region 1 meeting, so I appreciate that, and I know that they work very closely with Danielle and all the things she does, and also help manage our negotiation software, so we'll be doing that.
they were nice enough to sneak me into a DLR meeting or party down in San Antonio, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, we'll send them a thank you card. Dr. Randy Nelson, who's a former superintendent, some of you may know him, he called a couple weeks ago. We sat down and had a cup of coffee and talked about the SINCAP and the relationship between Beatrice Public Schools and the SINCAP program and Southeast Community College and the things that happened there. So I just really appreciated that conversation from the standpoint that when I was first getting into administration, he was a superintendent, and I got to watch him from afar and really never have a chance to meet him. So it was kind of like meeting Dr. Joel for the first time as well, and saying, you know what, I want to thank you for the impact that you've had on me personally and professionally, but also what you do for Beatrice Public Schools and your relationship with the SINCAP program. So sending that out. We got a chance to go to the next two. We got a chance to go to the Thriving Communities, Schools, and Early Childhood Education Programs in Kearney, sponsored by the Buffett Institute, and hear about everything that impacts the first 5 years of a student's life or a child's life, and how important those things are from the brain-based research. We got to hear multiple speakers that were great connections, and talk to the people at the Buffett Institute about our early childhood education program. Janet attended that with us. It was a great program. The day was very, very educational for us and opened a lot of eyes in terms of the opportunities that are out there to continue the progress that you guys have made in the early childhood education program. So, three of the folks that were there that we talked with, a lady named Amy from the Early Childhood Education Institute, and Nicole and Michaela through the NDE that are part of the Division of Children and Family Services, and also very responsible for helping schools write grants to acquire funds to manage that. So we want to send them a thank you and let them know that we appreciate being able to talk to them. And then finally, tomorrow, Terry has lined up the seating for kind of a facilities update for you here. The seating for the north end of the paddock addition out to the street where the grass is, so that will get seeded tomorrow. And I would just like to say thank you to the city for their help and cooperation in getting some of the equipment we needed and aeration, and Terry can tell you what all they helped us with. But we appreciate that partnership, and I think it's important that they know that we appreciate it, and if there's ever an opportunity for us to repay that favor, we will. So just some thank you cards to go out to some folks that way. Upcoming events, I'm working on a slideshow for our October 30th presentation on modulars at the Kearney Construction workshop that's put on new by the NASB, and we're moving right along. So got a chance to speak to the chamber this past week, which was a fun event, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to do those things, interact with people in the community. I truly enjoy that. So
Nice presentation too.
thank you. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And thanks to Rick at the hospital for being part of that. We whipped that up pretty quick, but it was a lot of fun, and I think he's a good sport. So that is all I have.
All right. Anyone else want to jump in there? Okay, at this point, I would take a motion for adjournment.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15.
All right, we have a second by Steve.
We just wanted to.
Nobody wants to leave.
Well, he was here late, so he wants to
I
stay.
got here a little late.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to stay.
He wants to spend more